still the off season, but we've got a big signing for you guys today. The first big signing of a player going to a new team. Dylan Cease, 7 years, $210 million with the Toronto Blue Jays. They got their big starting pitcher. They did it quick, and they spent the big bucks.
Yeah, they acted quickly and decisively, and they addressed probably the biggest need for the team, which is to get a bona fide ace.
Yeah.
Now, I know some people will look at his ERA from last season and say 4.5. That's not really what you want to see out of a top line starter. The FIP was actually 3.5. He still had a very, very good K per nine leading baseball with 11.5. He's incredibly durable. He'll make at least 30 starts for you. Yeah, he could pitch deeper into games. But I think in Toronto, with the bullpen, he's going to have to. But he's an ace. He's probably one of the, on his worst days, he's one of the 20 best pitchers in the league, probably. He's a number one for more than half the league. And when he's on, he's one of the best. His stuff is absolutely nasty. Really exciting things for Toronto. I think there's been a lot of negativity about this contract with the term and the money. But that's what happens when you set the market for a starting pitcher. Unless you get undercut by a Suarez contract or a King contract. But Cease is younger than them, and when you act first, you got to get him to Toronto. So I think this is a 10 out of 10 out of the park move for the Jays.
Yeah, they went out and got their guy. This is a guy who he can go 7 innings regularly, which is what Toronto needed. A big problem last year was the starting rotation's lack of innings, which really ate into the bullpen in the summer, and well, it was why the division came down to a tiebreaker. But this is also a guy who underperformed last year, and his numbers aren't as bad as they look because he was also pitching in front of one of the worst defenses in the MLB.
Yeah, and you could
does
tell
not
watching
help.
the defense play. Like, they're horrible. Like,
Yeah, and look at the way the Blue Jays are
that
lined
the
up.
Blue Jays defense, right? Like,
Yeah.
like the Jays team is built on playing defense, and he's a high strikeout guy. The issue traditionally with a lot of high strikeout guys is they can't keep the ball in the park when things are bad, right? Like a lot of high strikeout guys are often very volatile. They can't, limit the homers when they can't strike guys out. Cease is pretty good at keeping the ball in the ballpark, or at least I think he is, or remember him as being that kind of way when he was in Chicago. So when you go from the Padres defense, which is probably one of the 5 worst or 10 worst in the league, to the Jays, which is probably the best or at worst one of the 3 best defenses in the league, his numbers will go up next year. I'm going to project him to be mid to low 3s, maybe in the high 2s if he has a really good year. And he's going to strike out a lot of hitters and keep a lot of clean innings. So he's exactly what Toronto needs. Him and Gosman and Savage, that's a really good 3. And, Bieber at 4 is really good. The issue that I see with the Jays, I'll talk about this later, is Barrios is the 5, and he's not getting paid like one. So
Yeah.
keep your eyes out for that contract to get moved.
Yeah, you keep your eyes out for whatever the Blue Jays do with the back
Yeah.
end of the rotation. My only question with him and giving him such a long-term deal, he hasn't been consistent year to year.
I agree. He has not been very consistent year to year, but there's obviously going to be a little bit of fluctuation year to year. But it's not because he's injured, right?
No.
He's very, very healthy. So I think now he has a 7-year contract. There will be a little bit of up and down, but now you can punch hitters out. You're going to be playing in front of one of the best defenses in the league. I think that's only going to give him more confidence that he can pitch more, be more aggressive in counts because he knows he has a defense that can get guys out. Whereas last year, you saw a bit of a higher ERA with high strikeout numbers, maybe feeling like he has to do all of it himself. Now he can be much more calm. This is a great situation for a starting pitcher to be in. So I wouldn't worry too much about his consistency in years past because you've gone from the White Sox and Padres, which are 2, I'll say, erratic situations to be in for a baseball player. Now, one team wins, one team loses, obviously, with the White Sox all the time and the Padres. But the Padres are not a very stable situation to be in if you're a player because you're probably going to move on in 2 or 3 seasons. But now you're locked in long term. You are the guy in the rotation. I think we're going to see a very consistent Dylan Cease.
All right, I like it. I do want to say one more thing before we move on. The Padres rotation right now is bad. Like,
It's not great.
we assume Michael King isn't returning. That's been the headline since
No, he's
March.
not. No way. I think even he knew when he was pitching he wasn't going to come back.
Yeah, this has been a thing all year. Is Michael King's leaving, and maybe it's because ownership's in a bit of a feud between selling the team and putting more money into it. And when ownership's fractured like that, nothing's going to happen in the off season.
Yeah. So you're
But
losing your two best guys. You're losing
you
CC.
are, yeah. And your ace right now is Nick Pavetta, who had an amazing year, but a career 4 ERA guy. You can't assume he's going to be your ace. Musgrove should be back at some point, but coming back from Tommy John surgery is always a gamble. Randy Vasquez and the rest are they're just shoehorns right now. Like you're just throwing them in there.
Yeah, and like I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying, "Man, Nick Pavetta, I don't see him getting $200 million a year." And the people who say that, Keenan, are people we don't invite into our home because they're very
Yeah.
unintelligent, because they don't understand that a guy who can strike out hitters at a high clip is incredibly valuable. Who finished second in the Cy Young a couple of years ago, whose best years are probably still in front of him, who can control a game. Yeah, I look. Don't get into the trap of I'm just gonna look at a pitcher's ERA. There are
Recency bias.
Oh, 100% too, right? Like there are other things that go into can this guy pitch? Like what's his FIP? Because that can cut out things like a bad defense, and a 3.5 FIP in a down year is very, very good. So I really think that we're going to see a really strong Dylan Cease. And the J fans who are skeptical about this, I would just say, which starter would you have preferred? Would you have wanted Suarez? Maybe, but you're going to have to pay. Mm, Probably the same annual value. Now, maybe you don't have to give 7 years, but you're going to be around that price range. Michael King as well, but Michael King is not Dylan Cease, in my opinion. He still pitches like a converted reliever, if that makes sense. Uh, Whereas Dylan Cease is still a frontline starter. This is the best starting pitcher on the market. This
There you
is the
go.
guy,
Hmm.
and you got the guy. Don't overthink it. Like, let's not overthink this. Okay, Dylan Cease, that is a great contract. He's a great pitcher. Let's just be happy. And I know in Toronto, especially with like the Raptors, the Jays, the Leafs, it's always negative, negative, negative. Be positive. You signed the best starting pitcher on the market. Don't overthink it. Okay, he's a front of the rotation guy. If Dylan Cease has a very, very bad year, he's a high end number two, right?
Yeah.
And he will not have a very bad year because he's gonna be confident. So
Yep.
they got their guy. And I know it's a weird feeling for a franchise that kind of doesn't always get that, but enjoy
Yeah.
it. Enjoy it. Like every other team who needed a pitcher really wanted Dylan Cease, and you got him. So J fans should be ecstatic about this. Like the number one need is we need an ace. We need a
Yeah.
guy
One
who
hundred
can
percent.
really like a bona fide ace. And I saw this is what I don't like about J fans is because it is an entire country that we live in, Keenan. Fans from coast to coast, you get all different kinds of fans, right? You get very educated, you get very uneducated, and everything in between. They're saying, yeah, well, we have Trey Savage, we have Kevin Gosman. What do we need an ace for? Because that's not really like the Jays haven't had an ace since Robbie Ray, and that was really like a year.
I think it was
It
one
was
year.
1 year, and he won the
Yeah.
Cy Young. That's like Dylan Cease. If he was left-handed, would be Robbie Ray. But there hasn't been a bona fide like frontline year in year out ace since Roy Halladay left.
Yeah.
That's who Dylan Cease can. I'm not saying he's Roy Halladay, but I'm saying he's projected to be the first guy since Halladay who's your number one for the next 7 years. Pencil him in that way. He's
Yeah.
the guy. Gosman is trending downwards. Savage is still an unknown quantity. Cease, we know what he is. We know what he brings. We know that he is an ace, and he brings that stability. And now your trio of Cease, Gosman, and Savage, you can go toe to toe with anybody in Major League Baseball with that rotation, and it might be the best in the league. If everybody stays healthy, it probably might. It could be, depending. A lot of that rests on Savage, Barrios' consistency, and Shane Bieber's health. But you look at that rotation, you go up and down, you compare that to everybody else's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot of check marks on the Jays side of things. So
Yeah.
really, Jays fans should be encouraged. Don't be weirded out by Cutter is king and all those weird trolls on Twitter. All right, you see him, you tell him to fuck off.
Yeah, there's a lot to be positive about with this signing, and it's just the beginning of free agency. A lot is left for the Blue Jays, but we got two big trades that happened this week. A
Yes.
shocking one between the Mets and the Rangers, 1-for-1, Brandon Nimmo, Marcus Semien. Nimmo's bat was solid with the Mets the last couple of years. Semien has been trending downwards ever since they won the World Series. They got their second baseman, I guess, the Mets, but you are losing some offensive production from Brandon Nimmo. This was a weird one.
I really hope Steve Cohen isn't chronically ill.
Yeah, yeah,
Because this is the kind of move you make when you think like this is your year. We're gonna turn Semyon around, like terminally, not chronically ill. but this is the kind of move that you make when you feel like you got a year or two left here, and you don't have a year or two left. This team is still it's not young, but they're hitting their prime. You don't want to trade for aging stars. Like this never works out, Keenan. Keenan, when
I
does this
wouldn't even call him a star anymore.
no, when do you trade for when do you trade a franchise? I don't know if Nemo's an icon, but a franchise stalwart, I'll say. You know, like a French, he's a rock there. He's
He's the
consistent.
sidekick.
He was there, yeah. He's like a Robin or an Alfred, but he was there in the hard times. The fans could identify with him a lot, right? Because he's
Yeah,
one
he's
of
a fan favorite. He was the longest tenured
right?
Met
He's one of the
until they
few
traded
key
him.
contributors who suffered through a lot of the bad seasons, right? He's very essential to your team's culture. And now you're
Yep.
trading for a guy in Marcus Simeon, whose best years are definitely behind him, who I don't know if he'll play another 3 years in baseball with the way that he's trending.
Yeah.
Like these best years are behind him. He's probably not going to be an all-star this year, close to it. I just don't get the move. I'm trying to think of an angle where the Simeon move makes sense, but at best, Marcus Simeon will replace Brandon Nimmo. Maybe they wanted to get a righty in there. I don't really get it though. It just doesn't feel like a baseball decision. It feels a lot like a Steve Cohen thinks spending more money on a guy with a big contract is going to get him wins decision.
Yeah, it didn't make sense, and I'm not even going to try to make sense of it
I
because,
I tried. I couldn't figure it
yeah,
out.
I don't think it was the
Don't
right
even
decision
bother.
for the Mets.
Don't bother. I tried.
I love to bash on the Mets, and this is an easy one, but I'll hold off for now.
Lobbing it up in there for us, Keenan. There was a
It's just a
softball.
perfect alley oop.
Yeah, it's
Look, Brendan Nimmo signed through 2030. Like
he's a Met for life. He should be.
that's what he thought. He wanted to be a Met for life.
Like,
They
these are
signed this big contract, and they trade him away for an aging vet who hasn't been the same and won't be the same. Like
like
there's no way to slice it and have it make sense
no.
unless you were trading off assets and taking them on, like trying to rehaul, retool anything. But this is not any retool situation for the team. You don't need this kind of veteran in the clubhouse. You don't need to offload the money and the contract of Brendan Nimmo because you're Steve Cohen. You're the richest owner in the MLB. I'm done.
Okay, yeah, I don't get it either. Like Brandon Nimmo's the kind of guy who you draft him in the first round, he makes his debut with you, he stays with you, he wants to be with you. He's an impact player. Like his OPS plus has been above 110. Like I'm pretty sure every single season in the major league. Sometimes it's in 140, 130. Like he's a high impact player.
Very
He's the kind of
consistent.
guy who you hit him down the lineup in your championship winning team. That's the whole point of a guy like that. So to move him for Marcus Semien, I don't get it at all. Like, do you
Yeah.
like? I'm trying to make it again. I'm trying to go back. I'm circling back to Semyon now. I don't get the move. Like, I don't under. He's older. There's more mileage there. He's not as good. Like, he's. I'm done. I'm done.
All right.
No, I'm done. I'm done with this.
Let's go. We'll go on to the other trade. The other big
Honestly,
trade.
I'm short circuiting a bit, trying to understand the move. Because you have one guy who's really consistent and good, and one guy who's trending downwards, and you're trading the wrong one.
We're spiraling here. We're
Yeah,
spiraling.
no, sorry. Keenan, save me. Bring us back on track.
Sonny Gray. He has been traded to the Boston Red Sox for a pair of prospects. Gray is being sent along with $20 million going to the Red Sox to pay for half of his contract for the next year. This is a great move for the Red Sox. You're getting half the contract paid for a good depth guy. Very consistent year to year. Trending downwards a little bit, but there isn't going to be that much pressure on him in Boston. He'll be behind Crochet.
He's a known quantity. We know what Sonny Gray is.
Yeah.
And the fact they're getting a bit of money from St. Louis really, really helps this whole thing. Because the Red Sox need starting pitching. Like, that's what held them back last year from really being in the divisional race, was they couldn't get to the end of games.
Yeah, and Gray's always healthy.
Yeah, no, Sonny Gray is like a hobo's Dylan Cease. That's a good.
Okay.
He's gonna make 30 starts, give you 160 innings of pretty good baseball.
Yeah,
He's not gonna lose you a lot of games. Don't expect him to shoulder a load for you.
No, it's a good contract. Sorry, it's a good trade for Boston.
Yeah.
It's helping their rotation depth. I still think they'll make one more move for the rotation.
I would say they will make one more. They should make two more.
Yeah, they might try and bank a little bit on their young guys, put some more money into the offense, but I think they got one more move left in them.
Yeah, they're definitely not done now.
Yeah. Down in Anaheim, though, we haven't talked about him for a long time because
Oh,
he
it
didn't
feels like a
play a
year.
game. He did not play a game of baseball this year, didn't even begin baseball activities, didn't take a swing, probably wasn't in the clubhouse. Anthony Rendon, him and the Angels are in talks to do a retirement contract buyout. There's really no point. There's 1 year left on the deal. Just eat the money and let him do his thing.
Yeah, just say, look, Tony, go home, be with your family. We'll pay you. We'll Phantom IL you, and then we like. If you're the Angels, I don't get wanting to buy out a contract like this. You just want to be done with it as quick as you possibly can. Now, I don't know the structure of retirement contract buyouts, and I'm not going to pretend to. If you can get the money off your books as quick as you possibly can, that's what you need to be doing because you do not want people to think about Anthony Rendon when they think about your organization because all they're going to think about is fraud
The worst contract.
in the history of professional sports, and I can't really think of a different one.
It's very bad.
It's the guy got paid what $1 million a game to be a really below average third baseman,
Yeah,
and like I
he
know he probably thinks or wanted his career to go differently, but there's no passion. And ultimately, this is what your legacy is going to be. It's not going to be as the high impact guy on those Nationals teams. It's going to be as a quitter and a loser, and because
yeah.
that's because the quitter part you cannot dispute with me. The loser part I can hear that a bit because he won a championship, but he acted pretty much like a loser for the entirety after not 2019 with the rest of his career. He did not care about baseball, didn't act like he cared about baseball, which is disrespectful to the organization that paid you over $200 million, and it's disrespectful to your teammates,
Hmm.
disrespectful to management, disrespectful to pretty much your coaches who actually coached you to get you to this point, not just your current coaches, but to pretty much come out and say, baseball's not really a priority for me. Like, just if you're Anthony Rendon, all that I ask of him is to show a little bit of class in this. Don't do a press conference. Don't start crying and getting emotional. Just
He's not going
calmly,
to do that.
calmly go into the night. He's an attention whore, Keanen. He might.
He doesn't care enough anymore.
He should calmly be quiet. I'm not telling you to be quiet. I'm saying he
Yeah,
needs
I
to be
know, I know.
quiet. He should go be with his kids and never show face in baseball again.
Yeah.
That's what should. And if anybody sees Anthony Rendon at a stadium, just look at him. Don't say anything rude to him. He knows. But he should feel a sense of shame when he steps into a baseball park. Because
He
that's
spent
what he deserves.
he
Is
spent
shame.
4 years with Otani and Trout and could not care. Like
He,
he got
he
to
deserves
play
to
with
feel very bad about himself. With
he played with two of the best baseball players
and he
ever.
couldn't and he couldn't be asked, Keenan, to try and battle through an injury, to really try in the field, to try and fix his swing. He could not care.
No.
He couldn't be motivated. It's lazy and selfish, and the most annoying thing in the world is wasted talent. And Anthony Rendon, I just I'm out of words. I just get upset when I think about him, and so should everybody else, because he's really just an embarrassment to baseball.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to keep the show rolling. Next 3 weeks, we are going to be giving our division recaps. We're going to give a positive and negative recap, or little blurb for each team in the MLB. Going division by division, we're doing the East divisions today. We'll start with the American League. What do you got for the Toronto Blue Jays?
For the Jays, the positive was, you came within, 2 outs of winning the World Series, and every key young-ish role player you needed to perform did perform. Barger broke out the way that they needed him to. Ernie Clement performed. Nathan Lucas, a fringe guy, performed. Like, it was nearly a perfect season, right? Like, almost everything came together perfectly. That's the positive, right? That's the positive. The negative about the season is you go to the offseason and you look at Anthony Santander's contract and Jose Barrios' contract, and you wonder if that's going to limit their spending, right? Because Jose Barrios is not who they thought he was when they traded and signed for him, right? That he's not that guy. He's become too inconsistent. Even though I still think there's a good pitcher and there's somewhere, it's not going to be in Toronto. And Anthony Santander might be looking a bit like Anthony Rendon if he doesn't get his act together this season. The big issue is if those guys perform this year the way they did last year, you're going to need to find a way to get out of those contracts if you want to extend your competition window, right? Because those contracts will limit your ability to sign free agents significantly. So
Yeah.
you've got to move on from them if they do not perform this season. I would say even move on from Brios in the offseason. You have to give Santander a full season of baseball under his belt, but you need to move on from Brios before the season starts.
Fair
That's just
enough.
my opinion.
Yeah. My positive obviously is made the World Series
Yeah.
with a very well-rounded offense, probably the most well-rounded offense in the MLB. My negative is it was a lot of career years. When you look at
Is
this
that a
offense,
negative though, Keenan? Is that a negative? It was a lot of career years. That
it
because
is going forward. Like if you think everyone's going to be able to replicate this kind of
no, I
performance,
think
that's my
Lucas.
only
I think
concern.
Lucas and Spring are going to heavily regress.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a bit of a problem with how important Springer was to the offense. It's a negative, but it's also a positive because of
Whoa, Keenan just became a philosopher for a second there.
philosopher because it was a very positive thing for 2025, but it's one of those things that they could regress a little bit going forward.
Okay, I agree with that. I think that definitely you would be very naive if you didn't think that the role players were going to regress a bit. George Springer obviously is not going to hit like this next year.
No.
Nathan Lucas will not hit like this next year. I'm not sure if Ernie Clement can hit this way next year. I think Barger's the one guy you look at and say maybe he could even go up,
Yeah,
right?
that's he is a very young player.
Barger's the
I
guy you can look and go up. Maybe you hope Kirk can be more healthy, and
Varsho's power numbers might not be the way they were.
that is true. But with his swing path and the way that he swings at the ball, I actually think that
Okay.
I'm bullish on Addison Barger's probably now. I believe the idea is Santander is going to replace Springer's production if he's healthy, but
Hopefully.
I don't know how it's going to work with him. Is he going to play the field a lot? I think they have a lot to figure out regarding the outfield. That's all I'm going to say because Varsho's not going to hit the way that he did this year as well. You just hope he can stay healthy, right? So the outfield's a bit of a jumbled mess, and they're going to need to find some clarity there for it. So yeah.
Yeah.
There's just a
Yankees.
lot. There's just a lot happening. There's just
There's
a
a lot
lot
happening.
happening for the Jays right now that they need
There
to
is a
figure
lot
out, get
happening.
clarity on. You know what I mean? That's all there is. So
Yeah. Yankees, I got the pro is the rotation is deep and legit, and this was without Garrett.
love that. Love that. Yes, 100%.
It's very straightforward. Everyone saw this, especially with the emergence of Cam Schlittler, Max Fried pitching like a bona fide ace basically all year, which is very shocking as a Braves fan. Usually he has an off. Actually, he did kind of have an awful month with the Yankees.
Yeah.
Some blister problems, just regular Max Fried issues. But all in all, a great year from them, from the rotation as a whole. My con is they're a one-dimensional offense, and it really showed up in October.
That's very similar to my outlook. My pro was that the veteran pitching staff performed the way they were supposed to.
Yeah.
Right? Like Fried and Rodon pitched the way that Fried and Rodon were supposed to pitch. My con is that the kids were not really ready. The lights were too bright. The veterans didn't perform that well either.
Yeah.
But specifically, Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe, and Jason Dominguez, I'm talking to you. You are not meant to be Yankees. The lights are too bright for you. And you really held the team back.
Especially Volpe.
Especially Volpe, who I'd love to say he's unfairly targeted, but he's so fairly targeted.
Yeah,
he's
the
so
lights are too bright for him. Dominguez, I still don't understand how he can play this way, being one of the most hyped prospects within the last decade.
Keenan. We don't talk enough about how bad he is in the field,
He
and
can't
we
read a
talk
fly
about it
ball.
every week it feels
That's the
like.
reason he didn't play in the playoffs. He can't read a fly ball.
I don't get that though. When you come up through the minors as an outfielder, and
They
you
don't care about that kind of development in New
Keenan,
York.
it looks when he got to spring training, it looked like a guy they were converting to the outfield, and he's learning on the fly.
Like Altuve.
And he's not. And Altuve was better in the field than he was.
And that's saying something because Altuve was awful.
There were a couple bad moments, but still, at least Altuve had the courage to get out there and still do it.
he
Dominguez,
tried.
fuck, absolutely brutal from Jason Dominguez. Yeah, and this should end the Yankees have a great farm system. The Yankees don't. The Yankees are very good at getting top prospects or tricking writers into thinking because the Yankees spent a lot of money on a guy, he must be really good, or they release a good hype video. Because I forget about Jason Dominguez for 5 years minimum.
Yeah.
He's
The moment
not
they signed him.
a really a solid player. Like the bat isn't even good at all. So if you can't hit, you can't play the field, you're kind of useless. So they need to really retool, especially like if they don't re-sign Cody Bellinger, I don't know if they can win 95, even 90 games next season. Like they have a lot of question marks to do. The veterans are only going to get older, and the kids aren't ready to take their place.
Yeah.
That's the negative. Is your contributors are either another year older and they're already pretty old, or they're going to go in free agency, and you don't have anybody ready to replace them.
It's happening again too. The George Lombard hype is
Who? Who the fuck is that? I don't see.
he's their next top prospect. He's getting hyped up like Dominguez
You
again.
guys, Keenan's the prospect guru of the show. I can barely remember that Ben Rice plays baseball. Ben Rice isn't that good either, guys. He's all right. He's made as fuck for a first baseman, in my opinion. But
You'll hear about him throughout the year.
George Lombard,
George Lombard.
Lombard, like Hector
Lombard.
Lombard.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude. I'm sure he's gonna have a great 7-year career.
yeah. 25th ranked prospect on the MLB. Ain't gonna
Look,
pan out.
The Keenan, the Yankee tax, you have to add 25 spots.
Oh, I know. It's the Yankee tax. I'm just saying.
50th, he's 50th.
I'm saying I'm calling this out.
Okay, I'm gonna remember this. George, everybody remember this. George Lombard.
George Lombard.
But also remember Hector Lombard too. My Rays pro, some of the young offense took a step forward, like Junior Caminero. Chandler Simpson looked good when he came back up.
Yeah.
Right? There were some positives offensively. The negative is the lack of having a real starting pitching rotation kind of caught up to them a bit. Rasmussen, I think, looked pretty good, but you can't just keep going patchwork year in, year out. You need starting pitchers who are locked up long term if you want to win baseball games. You need workhorses, and the Rays didn't really have that. They started out the year really hot, if you remember. Rasmussen and Baz looked great. They trailed off. That rotation's just not good enough in the AL East.
Yeah. My pro and con are very similar. My pro is a little more specific though. Caminero broke out. 40
Yes.
home run season from him. The face of the franchise that they thought they were getting with him. Can't pair him with the shortstop they thought they were going to though. And then the con is a lack of spending has finally caught up to them. The rotation, like you said, it's patchwork. Shane Baz was an injury riddled prospect, not really panning out for them.
Shane
And they just
McClanahan's still there, Keenan. Shane McClanahan is still alive.
Shane McClanahan is somehow still in the system. I don't know if he'll ever pitch again, but he's still around.
Fuck no. Fuck
He's still
no.
around, but he ain't gonna pitch again. And just the lack of spending to fix the problems that are caused weekly with their injuries is just caught up with them.
Yeah.
And it showed this year. They flirted with 500 for a little while because there is the offensive talent, and they do find stopgaps for everyone within the rotation somehow. But they need to spend if they want to compete.
Yeah, Baltimore, my pro is just Gunnar Henderson plays for your baseball team, and that's really cool.
Yeah, this one was tough for.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Keenan. I phoned it in a bit. I was like, I'm trying to find pros here, but you know
I
what?
phoned mine in a bit.
I
too.
just I just thought when Brandon Hyde's no longer your manager, and you have Gunnar Henderson. That's awesome, guys. Like that's really cool. That's a lot better than a lot of the other bad teams out there. You have Gunnar Henderson, and you don't have a shitty manager anymore. Be grateful.
And your con?
The young offensive players did not move forward.
Yeah.
They stagnated, and I talked about this every single week on the show. It's borderline regression from a lot of these like Kobe Mayo, Jackson Holiday, Rutschman, like a lot of these guys who you were projecting to take a step forward and really be leaders of this young core just moved backwards, didn't really move forwards. Really not encouraging. I'm hoping with a fresh slate, fresh season, maybe they can regroup and rally.
Yeah, and that last sentence there is why this is my pro. They are still very young as a team and as an offense.
True.
You can assume that a team and an offensive core this young can fix the problems that have been there this year rather quickly. But my con is not enough of these young players are signed to new deals or long-term contracts yet.
I agree.
Like this is your chance. And
Gunnar Henderson's still waiting on a contract. Thank
Yeah.
God they signed that kid who played 40 games. What's his name?
Samuel Basayo.
Basayo. Yeah, thank God they signed him. But
Yeah,
Gunnar
yeah,
Henderson, your franchise player who plays one of the most important positions in the league in baseball, who looks like he could win an MVP one day, fuck him. It makes
Yeah.
no sense. Like the way they're signing guys backwards. It doesn't make sense. And they may have to trade Adley Rutschman, and there's no way you're going to get fair value for him when you trade him. It's completely backwards the way they've operated. Like, yes,
Yeah,
they're
they've operated
spending more money
poorly.
and it's better, but they have no idea how to spend this money at all. They need more experienced baseball people in that building to rein in this ownership group. Otherwise, they're going to continue making boneheaded moves like this. It's like playing a game of Monopoly against a 5-year-old. Ridiculous. Would you
All right,
ever
we got
Boston?
one more American League East team here,
Yeah.
Boston Red Sox.
Talk
My
about
pro for
Boston.
them is their offensive identity started to form when the young players were in the lineup and healthy.
Fucking stole mine. Fucking god.
It's correct though. That's the thing.
Yeah, yeah. What's correct is yeah, whatever.
And my con is a lack of rotation pieces. We talked about that when we mentioned Sonny Gray. There is that yours?
Fucking oh,
that
is
your
that
con?
mine? Oh, I didn't even look. I didn't even look at yours, Alex. You put them in the dock before I did.
This is the first one we've lined up on.
Yeah, no, mine was the kids were hitting mostly, and the patchwork offense actually looked pretty good when Anthony was in the lineup. Lack of starting pitching depth limited them and limits their ceiling.
Yeah.
That's my con. Like that really limited them all year is they could not get enough games into the bullpen. The
Yeah.
starters would just let the game blow up and they couldn't transfer games to the bullpen. When they could get the bullpen into a game with a lead, the bullpen usually converted. But they
Yeah.
could
The
not
moment
do that enough.
Giolito went down.
And that just put a cap on
Yeah.
on how high they could have gone.
And
And the
then
Bueller experiment fucking failed, dude.
Giolito's injury right before the
Yeah,
playoffs
that sunk them.
cemented them as a wild card exit.
Yeah.
There was no depth beyond Giolito, and even he's a back end of the rotation guy right now, and he was their number 3.
Yeah, I am actually. Oh, and another con is Bregman opting out after the Devers trade.
Yes, that's a
That's
good
also a
con.
con. That's also a con.
That's a huge con right there when they
Yeah.
made the playoffs,
Yeah.
as they're actively building a core and getting better
I
year to year.
it was you know what, Keenan, I wish that they did the dock on the Red Sox this season. It would have been way more fun.
Yeah, that would have been. It would have been. I would have loved to see the clubhouse
Yeah.
as Bregman goes. Yeah, I'm gone.
Yeah. I'll keep it moving here with Keenan's Braves. Now this is probably a team he knows more about than me, and he knows more about the National League than I do. But this is just my observations here. Drake Baldwin looks like a franchise catcher. Right?
Yep.
He looks very good. My con is kind of against Keenan's pro is the rotation is just never healthy altogether, and I don't think they will be. I think this past season was a sign of things to come, and will continue to limit the Braves.
That's fair. My pro is, well, it's about the rotation. The rotation is very deep. It was very deep this year. It wasn't healthy, but they haven't had this problem in the past when you got Spencer Strider, Chris Sale, Schwellenbach, and somehow Grant Holmes pitching well. Shockingly,
Buddy, that's not going to happen again. Okay, don't worry.
that part's not going to happen again. But when you're calling up Smith Shawver, Hurston Waldrep, they have great peripherals, great numbers in their rookie years, and it's only going to look better. The rotation shouldn't be a problem going into 2026, but what is a problem is there is no true shortstop on this team. They did not have a serviceable shortstop all year. Nick Allen was the worst hitter in the MLB. Didn't hit a home run his entire year.
That's
It
bad.
took for them to sign Hassan Kim off waivers in September to have a shortstop hit a home
So let's how
run.
you feel, Keenan. How do you feel about that? How does that
That
make
was
you?
wild because no good team has a hole at the shortstop position at all.
That's very true.
It's the center of your infield.
Take notes, Baltimore Orioles son Gunnar Henderson. Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, it's the center of your infield, and if he is
Oh,
a
really?
negative WAR player,
Yeah.
you're not going to have an identity there.
Yeah. I completely agree with everything that Keenan just said. Moving on. What did you have for Miami? There are actually some pros this year. Very cool.
Connor Norby,
Mm.
completely breaking out. He looked like an MVP candidate for a couple of months there.
I wouldn't have said that, but okay.
He did.
You did.
I'm not saying
You can't
the
win. You
MVP.
cannot win an MVP playing with this team, though.
Stanton, 2017.
Yeah, but things weren't this fucking bleak back then. There was still a
That's
bit of
true.
hope.
That's true. Somehow things weren't this bleak back then.
Yeah, it kind of feels weird to say though, doesn't it? Like
It's so weird to say they were in
some
it.
franchises feel like 1 year is like 8.
Yeah, and no one really knows what's going on with the Marlins ever
I
since
I gotta
2003.
say, Keenan, I really don't like this. Are you sure Connor Norby are you sure he's the guy you're talking about?
Am I Kyle Stowers? Yeah, sorry.
Like I'm trying to think. I think I in my head was thinking Stowers. I'm like even like Connor Norby is like I don't think he played every day.
No, it's Kyle Stowers. I think we've made this
Stowers is a
mistake a
stud.
couple
Yeah, he
times too.
looked great.
I don't
I,
know why I keep confusing those two.
was Norby even there all season? No, he came over last year, but
Yeah, they
I'm
both
trying
came
to
over
think.
in the
I don't even think
Rogers
Norby
trade.
played more than like 100 games this year. So but again, I'm not a National League guy. I think he played pretty well. Clayton
No,
McCullum was
I was wrong. It is Kyle Stowers.
okay. Okay.
No, yeah, that was incorrect.
Stowers did look good. He's a pro.
Yeah,
He's a
Norby's
pro.
OPS plus was a 90. So
Wow.
we're gonna ignore I said that.
Yeah. All right.
My con,
What's your con?
the offensive depth is still very thin.
Uh, You're gonna get a disagreement from me there. I don't
Am I?
agree.
Okay.
I I think next year we're gonna see a lot of guys start to hit a bit more, especially with all the at bats that they got this year. I really like this team heading into next season, and this leads right into my pro. You had 3 guys finish in the top 15 of Rookie of the Year. That's a pro. That speaks
It's
to your
huge. That is
development.
huge.
That is right. Like you have Marcy, you have Ramirez, and I think was it Hernandez the DH who hit pretty well. Yeah, he finished top 15 there, and you have Kyle Stowers and you have Xavier Edwards. All of these guys just got a full season of at bats. That's a pro, right? To me, that's a pro. Is your young talent look pretty good?
Yeah,
Con, the trade chips you had in the rotation didn't get traded, and their stock took a hit. So now I don't know what you do with Alcantara. I've heard they're talking an extension with Perez, but I feel like they didn't play their cards right at the deadline last year, and that really limits what they can do this season because they're just in the same spot they were last year, but they can't get as much for what they want, and they weren't really ever really in the race for a wild card spot, so they just burned a year with these guys. Just my
yeah, and 100. I 100% agree with you with the trade chips. Alcantara should have been, with the way his year played out, he should have been gone in spring training. But you made a bet there that he was going to be serviceable when he got back, and he was not. I will just back myself up with the con here real quick. And I'm not saying I disagree with you that they could improve next year. I do think with how young the offense is, there is some improvement. But they had 8 players play over 100 games. Only 2 of them had an OPS above 700.
can don't use facts to ruin my narrative. Okay, these guys got a full season of at bats. They're good enough in the field. They're gonna hit next year. Okay.
No, I'm just backing myself up here.
Keenan again. Keenan's doing the thing, guys, where he says facts that don't play into my narrative, and I don't like it when he does that.
Sometimes we got to bring facts into arguments.
Yeah, I know. Whatever.
All right,
Thanks.
Washington. James Wood is the franchise hitter. I think that's very clear. Con, and this is probably your con too. The rebuild is not working.
This is very much my core or my take. I'll say my take was Abrams and Wood are fun. Everyone else sucks.
Yeah,
That's
the
pretty
rebuild is
much
not
that's
working.
that's exactly where we are. Like, I mean, I think you and I talked about this around July or August about how the only good players on the team are there because of the Juan Soto trade.
Yeah,
They haven't drafted or developed anybody. Like
Abrams,
just
Gore,
the
and
guys
Wood.
who got back for Soto, you haven't made any moves that have really panned out at all. And the result of this is the talent that you brought in to replace your generational talent. Yeah, they're performing, but you haven't done anything else. It's the entire team sucks. Like it's maybe the least talented team in baseball.
Yeah, it really maybe Colorado. That's
Mm.
it.
But Keenan, do we want to be in the same conversation with the Rockies when it comes
No,
to
God
talent?
no.
We don't. We
God
don't, right?
no.
So that's a negative in itself. They're getting worse.
They are,
Yeah.
and they don't have any assets they can trade off unless they want
No.
to
Because
re-extend
everybody
Rendon.
else sucks. That's the
Yeah,
issue.
there is nothing
It's
there.
not like they have like an old guy on like a bad contract who can still perform.
Yeah,
They don't really have a lot of other positive WAR players.
it's going to be very difficult for them to attract players because nobody progressed the way they needed them to, other than James Wood.
They regressed. They all suck.
Yeah, they are in an off.
Again,
Even if they wanted to spend money, they'd have to overpay to bring
I'm
in
gonna
players.
point at the sign. Abrams and Wood are fun. Everyone else sucks.
Yeah, and
Simple as.
it's gonna be a hard rebuild the next couple of years. Philadelphia, the rotation was one of the best in the MLB, even after Zach Wheeler went down. They
Great.
still had Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez leading them and leading them really well to a division win and, well, one playoff win. The con is they're a one dimensional offense, just like the New York Yankees. They took their break and they went cold.
This because Philly is a momentum team. How often do
Yes,
we need to say this? We say this every single season. That is a team that needs momentum. They're almost better off playing in the wild card round.
they are
They can
100%.
they're much more dangerous there. So my pro is that the rotation was really able to help out the offense when the offense needed it this year. The con is, despite this, it's still the same playoff result. It's still the same exit from the same team. It's the same team we've seen, Keenan, for the past 4 seasons.
Yeah,
It's the same song, different verse. They need to make major changes. You cannot keep running it back every single season and expecting different results. And I've the past, ever since you and I've done this show, I've said Philly needs to blow it up and just take a quick retool year. They haven't done that, and now they're really going to eat the consequences because they're not going to be able to acquire anything for Castellanos. I'm hearing they're moving on from Bohm. I don't know what you're really going to get from him. I don't know how we're going to feel about Wheeler coming back. Nola's gotten a lot older. You may lose Suarez. Like, there's just so many question marks right now.
Schwarber's still a free agent too.
Schwarber's still a free agent. Thank you for the catch there. But Trey Turner did look really good. The issue, though, is this season, the team could have looked totally different and transformed from 2 years ago. But they just kept holding and holding, hoping they would break through, and they never did. Now your hand is significantly diminished if you're trying to think about acquiring assets. Um, I don't know where you go from here. You're kind of in a purgatory where I think at this point you kind of have to ride it out because that's the corner you've painted yourself into. You have to just see if these guys can get it done, but there's just not enough talent and depth there, in my opinion, to think the Phillies can win a World Series. And if you're not trying to do that with Harper and Turner, what the hell's the goddamn point?
Yeah, and they're in a situation where it's a lot of older and aging players in long-term deals that are going to be difficult to move.
Not
And
guys, yeah, not guys whose contracts are easy to get off your books, and not guys who are going to yield you young, major league ready assets, which is what they need.
yeah,
So
it's a tough spot for them.
when what you
We
have prevents you from getting what you need, it's a really shitty spot to be in for any sports team.
yeah.
When who you currently have playing makes it way way harder to get who you need playing, you're fucked. You're completely fucked.
Yeah. Last team, the New York Mets. My pro for them is they have Juan Soto. That's a pro in itself.
Very similar
And
to
they
my
got some
pro.
good young.
Very similar.
They got some young rotation pieces that can develop and provide for them the next couple of years. The con is they missed the playoffs in their World Series window.
I really agree with what you just said. Missing the playoffs this year really hurts the team, really hurts the vibe. I think if you're the Mets, you hope it kind of like to fire into the ass of these guys and they don't collapse in the second half the way they did this year. Because don't forget, they were like one of the best teams in the league. I think they had the best record in like June or July. They had the best
Yeah,
record.
they were up there.
They were playing phenomenally, right? So my pro is in a down year, your guy, your franchise player Juan Soto still looked great. And he added a thing to his game with the base stealing, and he still looks like, he can win an MVP on, any given year. My con is their lack of clarity with their rotation, their lack of ability to get a proper starting rotation in cost them, and the future is still very very murky. To me, if you're going to be a perennial playoff contender, you need a strong, solidified rotation where the Mets are still into this Cohen era, still looking for answers, still looking for a nailed down rotation where we're hoping Senga can stay healthy. I don't know what's going on with Montas and Manea. Jonah Tong has some promise to him, but they just need some clarity there. They need three guys. You need your three horses. They don't have any. They have no one they can rely on in the rotation, and that's what's going to cost them, and it cost them this year.
Also, Montas was released.
We talked about that. He did
Yeah,
get released. That was weird.
yeah, that was a weird one. But yeah, he's been released.
Yeah,
It's
again.
gonna come down to can Cardet Senga stay healthy and consistent. Is Clay Holmes going to be?
Spoiler alert, no.
Yeah, is Clay Holmes going to be a good rotation piece for a second straight year?
I don't
Because they're
know.
not in a situation where Tong, McLean, and Sprout
They
can
can't
develop.
carry the load.
They can't like this is they need to be for those three to be coming up together at the same time. They need to be on an emerging team that could be competing for a wild card spot. Maybe a good year for them would be 85 wins. The Mets a good year is 100 wins, and you're in the World Series window.
I'm just concerned they're going to ask too much of those guys.
And that is a
And
big
then I'm sure
problem.
they have that same thought, so they're thinking like, do we throw all three of those guys? Is that 60% of our rotation right there? I don't know if you feel comfortable with that. I just don't
Yeah,
know what you're gonna do. Like the future is still very murky on if those guys are even gonna pan out. So you want to get them against major league hitters, but you just don't have guys you can fall back on because if they have a bad start, it could really fuck up your bullpen for an entire series and an entire week. So I really don't know what the answer is. I don't know. Maybe you sign Michael King. Fuck if I know. Clay Holmes is your guy. I wouldn't bet on it. Kodai Senga pitching more than 150 innings. I wouldn't bet on it. I I don't know what they do. They're kind of handcuffed to these guys, but they probably know deep down we cannot rely on Senga, Holmes, and the three kids.
yeah, 100%. It's an odd spot for the New York Mets. It's a pro, but it could also be a con because of like what you said. But the three of
This
them could
is
also
really really
develop.
telling to see how those kids develop.
It's gonna be a fun year as an outsider.
Every year watching the Mets though is fun, Keenan. I've
That's
never
true.
had a bad day watching the Mets play
That
baseball.
is true. I think this is a great spot to end the episode. We will get back to you guys next week with the Central Divisions.